Hey guys, I'm Ray, and we are streaming blacksmithing. I think. Probably. For the most part. So, today we are going to continue working on our tongs. Um, we've got two lovely blanks here, and I need to put these guys together. And because I want to do these relatively quickly, we are going to drill out the hole so that we can rivet these two halves together. And then we're going to spend a little bit of time finessing them so that they will open and close correctly and hold the steel that I want to hold. And that steel is this steel right here. So this is a portion of steel that I cut off using my bandsaw from a 10-inch piece of steel. This is supposed to be about 4 inches long, but it kind of cut diagonal. Anyway, we have to kind of process this steel, flatten it out a little bit, because what we're going to do is we're going to take this steel and fold it into the shape of an axe. So the first thing that we're going to do is kind of flatten this section out here or under the press, and then we're going to start flattening out into a rectangular form on this side. So today I'm a little bit tired today. Monday I had to cancel stream because I crashed. I've been working. I've been working really hard over the past couple weeks and not taking weekends off and spending a lot of time out in the shop getting ready for YouTube videos and streams and things like that. And it kind of started to catch up with me. And unfortunately, I it just kind of caught up with me, and I just couldn't really do much on Monday, so I had to take Monday off. Um, I have been having a little bit of trouble breathing over the past few days because of the ash in the air. And there are a couple wildfires. There's one in Canada going, and then there's also one near the Grand Canyon. And all of that ash and smoke is kind of blowing over into the Midwest of the United States. And so the air quality's been kind of iffy, and I already have problems with my breathing. So unfortunately, both of those things added up, and I had to cancel Monday. So today is Wednesday, and hopefully we can get through things. Like I said, I'm still a little bit tired, but overall, I should be okay. And we will get through this stream. Oh, there's apparently some flashing on this, so I'm going to have to grind this. But first off, we're going to drill some holes with a drill press after this ad starts or is over. I'm glad it wasn't a virus or a bacterial illness. Yeah, it's just the effects of having a chronic illness overall. I have long COVID. When I got COVID, I ended up with a long-term, like, I don't know, illness. It caused or it really destroyed my lungs a bit. So I have a little bit of trouble breathing. I don't have as high of lung capacity as I used to. And it also kind of um, gives me a lot of fatigue. So I've kind of had to train myself to get over the fatigue and just to be able to push through it. So I can do it for a while, but every once in a while I just kind of crash, and Monday was that day. I spent way too much time just like ignoring it and trying to push through, and eventually my body just said no. I know a few people who have that. I hope it gets better. I mean, I really hope it does too. Um, but if it doesn't, I'm learning to live through it, you know? I can't allow my illness to completely ruin my life. I have to learn to live with it and function through whatever, you know? And this stream has really, really been helping me train my body and get back into the shape where I can come out here and do things. So, you know, just every once in a while, I have to, you know, cancel a stream here and there. You know, just I get a little bit too fatigued. But yeah, so now that we are back, I am going to drill holes in these, what are they? Tongs, the tong blanks that I have. So we're going to drill a hole right in here and then another one right in there so that we can rivet these guys together. I'm thinking that we're going to build a new rivet for these guys because, well, honestly, it's because I lost the steel that I had made the rivet on Friday with. And so we're just going to use this and we're going to make a new rivet. It'll also fit a little bit easier if I do it that way. So the first thing I need to do is get a center punch. And I need this guy. Hi, Mahalo. Welcome in. Thank you so much for that tier 1 sub. 6 months. That is amazing. Thank you so much for your support, Mahalo. I so appreciate you guys. And you specifically, you know. You have been one of my staunchest supporters, and I want to thank you for that. All right. So we are going to put a center punch mark. I think we're actually going to do it. Where's going to be the best place? Probably about here. So right here, we're gonna drill our first hole. So I've got the drill press set up behind us. So I've got to move a camera and I have to move my light so you guys can kind of see the hole that this drills. So we're gonna do that. Yep, we are getting ready to rivet. So we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna drill these holes with the drill press. It's a brand new tool. And next Wednesday, like a week from today, I will be posting the video of my review of this drill press. This will be my first really like thick piece of stock that we're drilling with it. I did a whole bunch of holes in really thin sheet. So we'll see if drilling these holes changes my review of this drill press. So we shall see. All right, so I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna move. We're gonna pan the camera a bit. Oh, and now it's all sideways. That's not cool. And it's kind of wobbly. I apologize for the, the wobbliness of this camera right now. All right, is it gonna be all right if I leave it there? No, it's being dumb. I'm sorry, guys. No, we're not gonna stay. All right, well, I will pan this and then back to our normal spot, and then I'm gonna move our entire tripod. That should save us a little bit. That way it doesn't act really stupid. All right, so we're moving the whole tripod. I apologize for all of this movement. Hopefully you're not too terribly, you know, seasick from me. Ooh, a new drill press. Very nice. I'm jelly. Yeah, new drill press. I have a post drill that I'm in the middle of restoring. Then I have to figure out where to mount it. Yeah, I didn't really know where to mount this one either. My issue was that don't really have a lot of spots, so I put it on like a little tool cabinet. You can kind of tell it's sitting on there. All right, now I'm going to move this light so you guys can see it a little bit better. In theory, that should be a little bit more, you know, bright and stuff. And now we'll turn on that camera. And now we'll turn on this camera. And then I'm going to come over here. We're going to get this. We're going to get the hang of this. I promise. There we go. So theoretically, you guys should be able to see both the drill press and me over here. So the great thing about this guy is that I actually have a light and a little laser. So the laser has like a little X. It's really nifty. It'll show me exactly where this drill bit is going to come down. So that's so super neat. It's not something that I've ever seen on a drill press before. And I really liked it when I saw it. So I'm going to move this clamp. Whoops. So that, all right. That should be good there. And then one more thing that we're going to do. We're going to get some oil and we're going to drop it right in there so that it keeps our drill bit nice and cool and hopefully relatively sharp. So I apologize right now. I cannot see you guys' comments because the laptop is backwards. All right, let's try this. Oh, pretty darn smooth. So I kind of feel like the absolute best part of this particular drill press is that it is a variable speed drill press and it runs on a belt. So you guys can probably see the engine in the little inset, or like the motor of this thing. So that motor is actually attached to a belt, and that is what is spinning this drill bit. So we are slowly starting to drill this piece. And every once in a while, we are lifting the drill press up so that we relieve a little bit of the pressure and heat from this drill bit so that we can keep it nice and sharp. I wish I had like some music or something so you guys could like hear me in like a montage or something, you know? All right, and we have gone all the way through that first hole. That is super exciting. So you guys can kind of see that right there, hopefully. We've got a hole all the way through. So now we're going to come over here. We're going to kind of put these guys together and line them all up so that they look nice together. And then go like so. Kind of line it up so that I don't or so that I know exactly where this thing is gonna be. All right, so they right just like so. That means I need to put a clamp on here to hold this exactly where I want it. And theoretically, this should mean that this will be a nice fit. Let's try one more time just to make sure that these guys are gonna look all right, or I guess not look all right, but like, you know, fit correctly. Looks like awesome. Alrighty. And we'll oil this up, keep that bit nice and cool and sharp. And for half a moment, I'm gonna take a look at the comments. Cameron wanted to focus on the handle instead of the bit, but we can see it making nice chips. Okay, let me take a look and see if I can't focus on this a little bit better. There we go. That should be a lot better. Hopefully. I think it looks nice. All right, cool. Okay. Let's do this. All right, nice. Man, I think this is actually working a lot better than like on this than it was working on the flat. This is working real nice and real fast. Super exciting. My clamp is being a little bit funky right now because of the direction that it's sitting on there. So I probably won't get to do as much stress relief as I normally would when doing a hole this deep. Kind of cheating, you know, quote unquote cheating on this piece. A lot of times when I do my tongs, I like to drift my holes and punch them just to keep more of the material in. But I'm really trying to make these tongs go like quickly as a project, on the hole. And the best way to do that is to drill these holes as opposed to, there we go, all the way through, as opposed to drifting them. Okay. Nice, nice. We've got another lovely all the way through hole, and this drill bit or press has been absolutely gorgeous. Very, very smooth. Like I said, I think it's actually doing a little bit better on the hole than, or with the thicker stuff than it was with the sheet that I was doing. All right. So yep, that works. If you're willing to cheat, you don't want to win bad enough. Yeah. Definitely. Whoops. There we go. Really, I really want to. Well, actually, I think I'm just gonna do this. That way, you guys aren't like gonna end up getting ill from me moving the camera as much. Like I said, I just really want to make this project go a little bit faster than my other, because I mean it's taken me a couple weeks for most of my other tongs that we've done, and I wanted this project to be a week project, and it's already halfway through the next week, and I mean that's partially because of I had to, you know, cancel last stream, and then also because, you know, it did take me just a hair bit longer than I wanted it to. All right, we're moving that light. Okay. Oops, that one. Okay, so now I've got a good view on that side. Now I need to move the other camera, and I will be right back. This is what I have to do when I'm flipping my shop around, you know? Anytime I do like a monitor display off. Okay, there we go. Yeah, anytime I have to do like a grinder stuff or anything like that, I tend to have to move my camera or my shop all the way around, and a little bit on the obnoxious side overall, I think. But it's worth it in the end, you know, because I get really good shots that way. Okay, there's that. You know what? I totally forgot that I was gonna grind the end of this. But that's alright. Alright, we're gonna move this. And take a drink. Oh, I left the other guy on the drill press. I will be right back. Goodness gracious. This whole changing the entirety of the setup, you know, is kind of awkward. Alright. So, now we have two holes, and they kind of go like that. You can see all the way through them. So, the next thing that we need to do is make a rivet that fits. So, I'm going to start up the forge. I think. Probably. Ah, I got it to start. There we go. Much more better. Okay. So this guy is gonna go in the forge, and I'm gonna use these tongs with it because I think they'll work a little bit better. There we go. And then these guys can go back on the rack so that I don't have too much crap all over my anvil. I might bring those back out in a few, but overall. Alrighty. So it is going to be rivet making time. I'm also going to open my garage door because I had the main camera like right at the garage door. I didn't want you guys to be able to see like my vehicle license plates, so I left that closed. But I need that nice ventilation. It's kind of on the warmer side today. Oh, goodness gracious. So I do have an Amazon package that is coming today, and so if I see them out there, I might have to pause the stream for just a moment so that I can go and deal with my package. We are getting a bed frame today for the van. We ordered some insulation for the walls of the van and then some EVA foam for the floor of the van, and the EVA foam and the insulation are supposed to be here like way later than the bed frame, but we ordered those three things just so that we could like get a good start and measure things correctly for the van. And yeah, it's coming in the wrong order, which I think is a little disappointing because it would be nice if like the insulation were coming first, I guess. It is sound dampening and like insulation in one, and it's got a sticky backing on it, so you take you peel off the sticky part and then you stick it to the walls of the van, and because it's got bare metal, it's kind of loud, so the insulation is supposed to dampen that sound, make sure that, you know, it's not ridiculously like loud when it like rains and stuff when we're sleeping in there. But yeah, we are starting to get things together so that we can put the van together. Get things together to put the van together. That was a good way to say that. So yeah, we are putting together the van, and we're starting to get ready for the Ohio trip in September. I'm really excited for it. Hope the foam arrives in good shape. I wouldn't trust the shippers with that. Well, so the EVA foam is like different. It's not like those like the floor mats with like the little puzzle pieces. It's actually a roll of marine grade foam, and it's kind of got like ridges in it and stuff. So it's supposed to look kind of like faux wood, I guess. We got a color that it's not actually like wood grain texture or anything like that. It's just like stripes, but it's got a raised kind of corduroy like texture. The front is like a light gray, and then the background in the recesses is black. So I'm hoping that like lightens up the vehicle enough that it doesn't enclose it, because dark colors tend to enclose spaces. So I'm hoping that it's all right. Oh, it's a roll. That should be okay. Yeah. Um. Yeah, we decided that if we decided that we needed the rectangular pieces, that we would buy them in town, because there's like a Rural King and a Harbor Freight and like a Lowe's and a Home Depot, and they all actually sell like the little puzzle pieces like that you put on the floor. We also have a Sam's that sells them. So we just figured that it would be worth it just to buy it, you know, from the store so we could inspect it and stuff for the actual like floor mats. So everything that we're buying is on rolls this time. So I'm also putting together a proposal to see if maybe we can't talk to some people about doing a promotional video for that particular trip, the Ohio trip. And I will tell you guys about that if it goes through. But that would be pretty neat if it did. So I've been hard at work, even though I've been, you know, off stream for a couple days. I did also post a video today on YouTube. It is the overview of the coal rake that we made, that like 1-day project. It wasn't a big deal, a big project or anything like that, but I needed a spacer video, so I'm not the most proud of that one, but it's up. And then we should be starting to get into some of the really good videos starting next week. So we've got um, the drill press review, and then I also have been working on the hammer behind the scenes. So I've almost finished dressing our hammer. Um, you can kind of tell now that I've got, like, you know, the shiny on both sides here. Well, show you guys. So, like, I still need to go over it again with a finer grit sandpaper, because you can definitely see, like, the grain of the I guess the sandpaper that I used on the bench grinder. But we're almost done with that. I also have a nice hickory handle for it, and I'm really looking forward to putting it in service. So I'm super excited about it. Hopefully I'll have that done by Monday, and we'll be able to use it for our axe. Man, my apron is all tangled. Like, the ties of my apron is all tangled up. There we go. Much more better. Yeah, I like to shop local. Then I can pick up the stuff I don't need at the same time. Exactly. And if I don't like it, it's a lot easier to return it than if I buy it on Amazon. Because, you know, I find it irritating to have to, like, you know, repackage things and send them out to, you know, or take them out to, like, UPS or the USPS or whatever. So, yeah. How warm are we? We're getting there. We're almost ready to do the rivet. So I told you guys about my weekend. What about you guys this weekend? Did you guys do anything fun? Sorry, I feel like I have failed at being ready for the stream today. I just feel a little discombobulated. And I feel like that always happens to me when I skip a stream. That's why I absolutely hate skipping streams as much as possible. Or I try not to skip streams as much as possible. There are the times that I, like, have to. Like, I will be skipping the Monday, or I guess canceling the Monday after the quad state trip, because I will need that extra day to recover, and you know, but hopefully that's the only day I have to skip for a little while at least. My sister and niece and nephew came to visit on Monday. Ooh, that sounds like fun. Back to school soon, so probably the last time off they had for a while. Yeah, there are so many people who are trying to do, like, last minute trips and getting ready for the school year. Having some last minute good time fun, and, you know, before school starts up again, when, you know, the grind starts happening. I feel like that's less prominent in my life because I don't have any kids, but I do have my sister and my mother are both teachers. So I do get to hear about that sort of thing when they're gearing up to go back to school. So I've got some ads going right now, and so once those ads are done, we will pull the steel out and start working on the rivet. Once again, we've got to put these guys, or I guess put the rivet through both of these guys, these holes that we drilled. And then after that, we're going to have to finesse them so that they open and close correctly. Right now, they're a little bit stiff. I need to squeeze these two handles down, or like together a little bit more, because I want to be able to open and close them one-handed, and right now I can't do that. And then these are also pretty far apart at the top. So we're going to particular attention to those in hopes that we can, you know, get some good tong action. Oh. So I finally was able to sweep around the anvil. I found a broom. Like, I lost my broom for quite some time, and so it's been a while since I've swept, and it's always dangerous not to sweep your shop because all of that dust starts to build up, and then no matter how much traction you have on your shoes or your boots, you know, there's always that chance that your feet are going to come out from under you. And so I'm really glad I was able to sweep. All right, let's get started on this rivet. All right. I like to start by shelving my material. Kind of isolating the area where the rivet is and also making a head for the rivet. I'm going to pay particular attention to how much I need to bring in and taper this material. So I've got a little ways to go. So we're going to heat this back up and try again. We're not trying it. We're going to continue. All right. I'm going to take a look at my cameras. There we go. Like I said, I'm still a little bit under, you know, a little bit tired, and so I am feeling it a little bit. So I might be a little bit quiet today, at certain points in the stream, just to give myself a little bit of a rest, speaking and stuff. The air quality is still a little bit nasty. Lots of smoke in the air still. So that was a major issue, something that I was thinking about on Monday, because I had considered just starting up the stream and then just spending some time just talking to you guys without the forge on and stuff. Maybe kind of cleaning the shop up a little bit, but I just didn't feel like I had enough breath that I could even do that on Monday. So I ended up spending most of my day sleeping, which was, you know, pretty good at the time. I ended up feeling pretty good by the end of Monday, and so Tuesday I was able to come back out here and start working again. And that's when I did the hammer dressing, and I'm almost ready to put the handle on that hammer. Let me actually go show you the handle. I got a handle ready for it. So this is a replacement handle for, I guess, a blacksmith hammer. So I've done some heavy modifications to it. This guy was an oval handle at first, and I've faceted it to kind of give myself an indication of like when I am holding the hammer in straight out. And then I also had to really reduce the area where the head is supposed to sit on this guy, because I thought that my hammer, like the eye of my hammer, was really big, but it's actually really small. And so you can kind of see where I've heavily reduced the size of this. I'm still not quite happy with the profile of the handle itself. It's still a little bit on the fat side. If I take a hammer like this one You know, this is a pretty big old hammer handle, and this guy is still bigger than this one. So, you know, I think I still want to work on this handle a little bit more before I put the head on. But I'm pretty excited to get this tank here like all done so that we can start using it, or at least testing it. And this will probably be the next video after the drill press review that we do. But you can kind of see how it'll sit on there, like so. And then I'll be able to use it. Should be a pretty decent hammer, kind of ugly, but overall, you know, not bad for a first attempt. All right, I'm gonna do another heat. And I'm trying to work from all four sides so that I can get a relatively evenly spaced head on there. So it's not amazingly thick as a head right now, but it'll do. Just gotta keep on keeping on. So the plan for the day is that we are going to work on these tongs for the first hour, hour and a half. And then after that, we're going to start working on compressing the stock that we're going to use for the axe. So this is a piece of 4140 steel. So this is a mid-carbon steel. And a lot of hammers and tooling are made of this stuff. It's kind of just hard enough that it's going to retain its shape, but just soft enough that you'll be able to get a little bit of bounce from it. So it shouldn't wear as badly if we, you know, use, or if we have to use a sludge on the opposite end of the axe in order to get the head all the way through the piece of wood. And it should give us a really good, high quality tool. So I'm really excited about using this. This is the first time I've known for sure that I was using 4140. I thought that I was using 4140 on that hammer, but it's been so long that I don't know for sure that it was not A2. So, because at the time I bought that piece of stock that I used for that hammer, I was buying 4140, but I was also buying A2, which is a high carbon steel that's really good for bits, like jackhammer bits and that sort of tooling. So A2 is an air quenching tool steel. And so it hardens by allowing it to slowly cool in the forge, and then you don't really have to temper it very, I guess you don't really have to temper it amazingly well. And then, but 4140, you do have to, it's an oil quenching steel, so you do have to quench it in oil in order to get that hardness, and then you do have to temper it to soften it just enough that, you know, you can use it without cracking it. Yeah, A2 is air hardening. That's one of the reasons why I really actually like using A2, because it's just so easy to work with. I don't have to have a tempering oven in order to work with it. So this bar right here that sits in front of the forge, this guy is a whole bar of A2, and I use it actually or I bought that piece specifically to make raising stakes for doing bowls. Copper, brass, and nickel bowls, like vessels, I guess. And I have made a few stakes out of A2, and they have worked absolutely beautifully for me. So the other day, my partner decided, or I guess not decided, but like told me that I should clean out the cold shop and show you guys, you know, some of my jeweler setup and that sort of thing. And I think he's right. So I think once we get done with these next few projects, once we get our punched axe done, I would very much like to go and maybe do a bowl or maybe a stake and then into raising a bowl. I think that would be a really fun series of projects. But that also means that I have to clean out the shop back there, and there is so much just junk in there. It's going to take me some effort to, you know, clean that up so that I can make it presentable for you guys. I need to make sure that my bench is particularly clean, because that's really what I'm going to be, that's where all of the cameras are going to be sitting, is on my bench. And right now I have my bench, like my jeweler's bench, is covered in just like tools and scrap material and like just junk. I just need to clean it off. Make sure that everything has a place and put everything in its place. And that is hard to do sometimes, you know? Tricking you into cleaning and organizing. Yeah, that's totally what it is, you know? Also, but I mean, the other thing is that I really need a place for the drill press. It can't really sit in the middle of everything behind the cameras and the laptop, because it's just going to be in the way when I need to do other things. So I feel like the best place for it is to live inside of the cold shop. So I need to make a space for that specifically as well. I also have been thinking and talking about moving my grinders in there, and then maybe setting up my, what is it? My bandsaw in there. There's a lot of just furniture in there that I just don't use anymore. And, or furniture that I built and couldn't sell because there was just like flaws and stuff in it that I just wasn't proud enough of to sell. So I need to find space for all of that stuff. And then, you know, organize. Organization is like one of those things that I hate doing it. Welcome in, Yankee. Welcome in. I am going to do another heat on this rivet so that we can keep on keeping on and save some time towards the end that we can start working on processing the material for that axe. So we're starting to come up on that size that we need for the holes that I drilled. And we're getting really close. I need to knock off those corners and really round that out. And when I knock those corners off, we're going to get a little bit more length, and then we'll get plenty of space for that rivet. that's going to be our next heat. Welcome in, Kiri. Thank you so much for that raid. Hello, hello. Shout out to Kiri. If you haven't checked out Kiri's stream, go ahead and check her out. She is a jeweler, and she does a lot of really cool things. So today we are working on a set of tongs. We're working on finishing them up. We started these last Monday, not 2 days ago Monday, but a week ago Monday, and we are almost finished with them. So we drilled our holes, and now we are building ourselves a rivet so that we can rivet these together. And then once we've done that, we are going to finesse them so that they close properly. Right now, they're a little bit on the tight side, and they're a little bit wide open. So we're going to bend these so that they close so we can hold onto a large piece of stock. This is a 1.5 inches. So I'd say about 4 centimeters maybe in diameter. This is a piece of 4140, and we're going to turn this guy into a folded axe. So that is going to be our next project, and I'm hoping that we can get to that about halfway through this stream. That is the goal. Hey, Bluesy. Welcome to the stream. Hi, Pyrex. Hello, everybody. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day today. And I hope that you guys had fun watching Kiri's stream. So we've got a couple more heats left on this rivet, and then we're going to cut it off using the angle grinder, and then we're going to rivet the 2 halves of the tongs together. So these are actually a set of pickup tongs, and pickup tongs kind of look like these guys right here. These pickup tongs I built when I first started blacksmithing, and so they're really kind of they're not very good. They're kind of loose, and they're really bendy. So I really wanted to make a higher quality set of these guys because we're starting to make larger tools. So we just finished a project where we finished doing a hammerhead, which is right here. And so now I want to work on making an axe. So this guy right here is a hole punch, or like I punched that eye out of this hammerhead. So for this axe, I kind of want to fold it and forge weld it together. So it's going to be like a wrapped axe. But I need a good set of tongs that I can kind of pick up the stock. And these guys are just not that. It's like I can't even pick this guy up. You know, if I were to try, you know, it'd be really, you know, it's really slick. There's just not enough friction between the two ends of this set of tongs. So I need a good, secure way to pull this out of the forge after it's hot. Ahoy, Kinte, welcome to the stream. I hope I pronounced that right. But yeah, welcome Raiders. Welcome, welcome. So that's what we're doing this week. Or I guess today. So, like I said, we need to finish the tongs so we can use them to pick up this piece of stock. That be the goal. You did, thank you. Excellent. Another raid. Oh, Adventures and Naps, welcome to the stream. Wow, we're getting lots of raids today. Let me get another shout out there. Man, I missed it. I'm sorry, guys. Awesome. So yeah, if you haven't checked out Adventures and Naps, go ahead and check them out. Welcome in. I'm going to check them out real fast. Ooh. That's a nice channel. All right, I'm going to follow them back. I'm trying to relax so I can nap. Napping is an adventure for me. I mean, yeah, napping is totally an adventure for me too, you know, with all the dreams and everything. I spent a good chunk of Monday napping, you know. Naps are great. But yeah, welcome to the stream. So right now we are making a set of pickup tongs so that we can pick up large chunks of steel. This is the chunk of steel that I specifically want to be able to pick up today. By the end, or I guess by the mid-end of the stream. Because I want to start turning this into an axe head. And in order to do that, I kind of have to flatten this piece out a little bit. Make it into a more flat rectangle so that I can wrap it around and forge weld it together. So I really want to start doing this by the end of today, and in order to do that, I have to rivet these two halves together. So they're going to sit like so, and be riveted together through that section of holes right there. And then I'm going to finesse them before I can get them to hold that piece of steel. I wish I could nap, but today's a long day. Is today a long day? Yeah, today is a long day. Maybe. It'll be a long day because I've got two projects that we're kind of trying to do today. So we're finishing up the tongs, and we are going to be doing a little bit of axe head making. So welcome to the stream. Welcome to the community. 24 hours like every other day. You know that I read a little article about how the Earth's rotation is starting to like speed up just a hair. So we had a day that was like really, really short a few weeks ago. Because normally days are about 24 hours and like a quarter. So like 24 hours and 15 minutes. And that's kind of why we have leap day. Something like that. And I think I said that completely wrong. I think that's wrong, actually, now that I think about it. The year is 365 and a quarter days, and that's why we have leap day. Wow. Wow. I don't know where that came from. Our Earth rotation is only 23 hours and 56 minutes 4 seconds. Maybe. That sounds about right, you know? It does. That sounds about right. I will believe that, you know? Much more than a day is 24 hours and 15 minutes. That sounds really wrong, and it is wrong. All right, let's work on this rivet some more. We're going to do another heat. Goodness gracious. So we've gotten the diameter that I'm pretty happy with. So now what we're doing is knocking off the corners of this rivet. So when you're trying to make a square thing round, what you do is you start by making a square, then you turn it into an octagon, and then you knock off all of the facets and turn it into a round. So we are going to test this guy to see if our tong will fit on it. Looks like it's a little bit too fat still. So we're going to do another heat. We're going to work on thinning that out just a little bit more. We're almost there, but not quite. Yeah, I know, but actually an hour was originally defined as 1/24th of a day if you use that definition. Well, it's just a day that's wrong. That's true. I feel like they had a method to their madness when they like divided the day into hours and stuff. I do kind of feel like maybe you Europeans need to come up with a metric clock, right? So that it's actually a nice, neat, and even spacing for, you know, the 24 hours. You guys could make a metric clock, like you have metric, you know, Celsius and meters and, you know, kilograms. I mean, you know, what do you guys think? Metric clock. That existed for a while in French. The French had metric time shortly after the Revolution. Whoa, as an American, we have to use freedom units, no metric for us. But people found it hard. Geez, there's already not enough hours in the day without having only 10, right? I still think it would math a lot easier than the weirdness that we've got going on with the 24-hour clock. And then we have like military time, and we also have just like regular time. I guess it's not called that in anywhere, or like in Europe, but in the United States, it's like military time, where it's like, you know, you've got 1 through 12, and then 1 p.m. is like 13 o'clock. So we call that a military time here in the United States. You guys, I think you guys just call it the 24-hour clock. But, you know, I find both, like just the 12-hour clock and the 24-hour clock very confusing. So I don't know. Maybe metric time is a little bit too confusing, but it would be nice to be able to add and subtract time a little bit with a little bit nicer numbers. I just bury my head in the sand and pretend my little world makes sense to me. It is a 24-hour clock. Yeah, 24-hour clock. I think, like I said, I thought that was what it was called. But it, you know, here we call it military time, or at least that's what it was, or what it was called when I grew up, or what my parents called it. And I always thought it was like really confusing, because I have trouble just telling time in general, overall. 24-hour clock is fine. You just have to get used to it. And Bluesy is ex-military. I mean, I'm sure that if I got used to it, the 24-hour clock would be so much more easy to keep track of. But it's not what I grew up with, and it's not what I learned in school. So, and I feel like as we grow older, we kind of gravitate towards the things that we learned when we were little, and we don't want to learn new things, even if they're easier, you know? And I think that's why the United States hasn't converted to metric units. You know, we're still on the imperial standard. I I use AM PM time, but if I see military 24-hour time, I can I can understand it easily. The French did this well again shortly after the Revolution. It's a long time between weekends. It definitely is a long time between weekends. And we are currently under a ad, so I will be once the ad is done, I'll do another heat on our rivet. But yeah, in the meantime, you know, time. So weird. At least ad time sort of makes sense sometimes, right? I mean, I feel like ad time makes less sense now that you've got, some of you are watching the ads and some of you aren't watching the ads, and they've just been a little bit weird about them. I really wish that, it'd give me the timer and everybody would be on the same ad timer so that I can make sure that everybody gets to see the heats. Oh, I was proposing to make extra days, weekend days. Yes. Mahalo, what are those weekend things you're talking about? Man, I feel like weekends just kind of fly by. I never have enough time on the weekends. All right, I'm going to do another heat real fast. All right. We've made that a bit smaller, so we're definitely going to take a look at how close it is again, and look, that's awesome. I'm gonna try and put these guys together and see how much space we have. And it looks like that's a pretty decent size. We've got plenty of space there that we can create a second head for this rivet. So we're gonna cut this guy off, and then we're gonna rivet this guy, or these two pieces together. I still don't know what they are. My farm never takes a day off. Weekends date from the 19th century England. Thank a union. Well, I do thank unions. When they work, that is. Sometimes unions don't work as well as we would like them to work, All right. So I'm going to move the close-up cam real fast so you guys can see me cutting this rivet off. So do I. Without a union, there would be no wooden furniture. All right, there we go. For the most part, unions are very good for the working class. Occasionally, they're not as good as they could be. But even the ones that aren't as effective as they could be are, more effective than not having a union at all. All right. if I can get this plugged in and functional without grabbing the... Okay, should be fine. Alright. Always put on your dust mask when you are grinding or using an cutting. Because all of the small particles, you know, you can inhale them. Peasants had more days off than we do. Wouldn't you know it? That is awesome. I love a good pun. Okay. Let's cut this off. Alrighty. Animal care? Send the kids to do that. They've got like 12 of them. What about blacksmiths? I don't know. Blacksmiths often have apprentices that can help them do their work, so they probably have, you know, a decent number of days off. Maybe not the maximum, but a decent amount. That can go over there. And this can go in there. For the moment. I'll pull that out if I remember to later. Blacksmith, I don't know. I may be old, but not that old. We had a blacksmith in our village. Yeah, I mean, there are still some blacksmiths in villages. In various places around the world. Some are in Europe and some are in Asia. But, I mean, there are actually a lot of jobs for blacksmiths still. A lot of them are artists or historians, and they're keeping the tradition alive. But there are also blacksmiths that do work in a more industrial capacity. All right. Would you consider a farrier a blacksmith? Yes and no. Farriers do actually do a lot of blacksmithing, and there is a lot of blacksmithing involved in their work. However, a farrier has to be a lot more skilled in veterinary sciences, at least nowadays. So they have to both be skilled in blacksmithing, but also in veterinarian or large animal veterinary skills. Elrin's Covered, thank you so much for that follow. I greatly appreciate that. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the community. I hope you're having fun. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm kind of a little bit on the off-stream side of things, but what I'm doing right here is I am grabbing my swage block so we can get a really nice head on this rivet. Put that over there. And then this guy comes over here. Whoopsie. because of course we dropped them. Alright. I'm gonna put those there, and we're gonna grab these guys again. And I'm gonna move that guy. Yes. If they made their own nails. Night, Bluesy. Have a amazing rest of your night. Sleep well. Thank you for joining us, and I'll see you later. So I am moving again the swage, or not the, I already moved the swage block. I'm moving the close-up cam so you guys can see the swage block. There we go. Awesome. My grandmother's village had a blacksmith, an apprentice, or cousin Tom, and his son, also Tom, as she knew them. Yeah. Like I said, there are quite a few blacksmiths in the world in different places. Alright, so right now what I'm trying to do is sort of set up my anvil. Or I guess my swage block, so that way I can I know exactly where everything is going to be, so I don't lose as much heat. Right now the fan is blowing directly on the swage block right now, so I'm gonna need to move that. There we go. And then I think I'll just use that hammer. That should be a good hammer to use. I hope this works. I'm not amazingly proficient at making or at riveting things together. Hopefully I'll get it together and it will do good. Delicious. That last swig tasted like the soap I used to clean this. I am gonna grab some more water real fast, and then we will take a look at our rivet. And it looks real nice and hot. So after I grab some water, we will rivet this piece together, or these two pieces together. Or at least we will attempt to rivet them together, hopefully. Hopefully it works. Maybe it won't. We'll see. But once these gets riveted together, it shouldn't take all that much more time in order to be able to move on to the next project. And then you guys get to see some big metal moving with the press. We're going to do a lot of work with our press. I've got to change the dies, though. Ugh. I love it when I, get water up my nose. All right. You guys ready? I hope you're ready. Finally, a riveting stream. It's definitely riveting, Rivet. I'm going to put you guys up, or I'm going to put myself up there, or maybe will I go over there? No, I think I might just go right there. That looks good right there. All right. Let's hope, fingers crossed, wish me luck, guys. I really hope this works. So far, it's not looking good because I'm having trouble getting the rivet out of the forge. There we go. Much more better. All right. So that's going to go right like that. Then we're going to put that there. Or we're going to have troubles. Because we always have troubles. Oh, man. You know what? You know what? I'm gonna have to heat this back up again. I'm sorry, guys. I got your hopes up. And then I go and drop it in the little crack. Man, I'm sorry, guys. So what happened was I was trying to put the rivet through the hole, and then it fell over, and then it rolled off and into the crack between the edge of the stand and the swage block. It got a little bit too cold. I want to make sure that the piece is nice and hot so that I can do it in one heat if possible. But yeah, I apologize for how anticlimactic that was. It was definitely anticlimactic. Alrighty. I think I'm ready now. Let's try this again, guys. Let's try this again. I've learned my lesson. We're gonna do it that way. And then we're gonna do it that way. Alright, and we are riveted together. I do want to take a little bit of time to kind of finesse this. This is really fat. I'm going to have to cut it off, but I want to make a really good head on that side before I do that. So we're going to do a little bit of finessing. We're going to heat up this whole thing in the forge. If I can get it in the forge, that is. Looks like I'm going to have to move the bricks. I always hate moving the bricks. It got scared and ran away. It did, previously. Alright. Alright, so we're opening that all real nice and wide. And the reason I have the bricks is to kind of contain that heat. So I'm actually going to probably stick around in this area for a while, really close to where the fan is blowing, because all of that ambient heat is coming out of that forge because I have opened all of those bricks. I do want to take one more pass on that rivet, and then I'm going to start finessing the handles, kind of closing them together, closing the jaws together so that I can cool it down a little bit. In the quench bucket, we're going to have double gloves on. We're going to open and close it as we go down into the quench tank so that we can make sure that they open and close smoothly. Once I'm confident that we've got a really nice rivet, I'm going to cut off the excess of that head. Like I said, there's a really large head that is like sticking out of the end of that guy, and that could be dangerous. Walking past it and just like slicing your hand. So I will be cutting that off to make sure that it is a lot safer and a lot closer to that side. But it is always nice to have a good start to a head. The other thing that we are going to be doing is putting it back in the forge to kind of finesse them so that they'll pick this guy up. We're going to spend a little bit of time picking this guy up and hammering the jaws so that, you know, they're sized for this piece of steel or steel that is similar sized. All right, so we've got a good amount of heat going. I am gonna pull this out. I don't want too terribly much heat right now because I don't want to bend it too badly. So I'm gonna put this glove on. I'm gonna move that guy over to the anvil for the moment. And then I'll pull this guy out. Alright. So I'm pretty happy with that. I do need to open and close these guys a little bit so that I make sure that I don't lock them in place. I need to grab my other glove real fast. You can kind of see that they're opening and closing. That's always a good thing. So I'm pretty happy with the heads that we've got there. And we are opening and closing a lot more. So we do have a lock right there. I want to open them more. Make sure that they open nice. Alright, cool. Very, very hot. Alright, so we're going to put these guys back in the forge and start finessing them. We've got to close in both the jaws and the reins section of these tongs so that I can close them one-handed. I have small hands. So opening and closing those tongs you can kind of feel the heat through the leather gloves. So because it does kind of transfer through the palms a little bit. So it was pretty warm, but I don't have any burns, so that's a good thing. It's just unpleasant, you know? There is a wasp that has gotten in through the garage door and it's kind of flying around in here. I need to go around and, I guess there's two. I need to go around and spray them all with the wasp spray that we got. I feel like I do that every other week and they're back the next week. Alright, so I'm going to focus on the jaws a little bit this time. We're going to close them in. Yeah, we're going to close them in. So I think I just want to use this side here. And I'm going to move these guys right there. Okay, I need to move the camera before I do that, just so that you guys can kind of see what's going on. Because I'm not going to be using the swage block anymore. We're going to be using the anvil again. So let me move a few things real fast. So if you guys have any questions or comments or anything about this whole process, do let me know. I am always happy to answer questions. It's probably one of my favorite things to do about blacksmithing. I know I'm a little bit awkward and off today, but I'm kind of still a little bit out of it from Monday, I think. Alright. I had to cancel my stream on Monday because I was super tired. I think most of what's I'm affected by is my brain at the moment. Okay. Awesome. The best. So we've got pretty decent there. Ow, hot. Ugh. So I think I'm all right on that side. What I want to do now is bend these, like the reins together, so that I can actually close the thing with my hand. So yeah, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to quench off this section here. If I can manage it. Open, close, open, close. And then we're going to turn these around and put the reins in the fire. Or we're going to drop them, one or the other. That works too. Or I guess there's always, you know, the fact that it's a little bit too wide. So now that that's a little bit closer, we're going to be able to put this a little bit deeper in there. And that should, in theory, allow us to close that gap. You don't seem awkward to me, although I'm an awkward person, so maybe my perception is off. I don't know. I feel like I'm saying and ah and makes sense a lot today. And you know. But I also think that I had a whole list of things that I wanted to talk about today, and my list is kind of getting a little bit on the short side. My brain is buffering a little bit more because I'm having to come up with more topics to talk about. Thank you so much, Stone Metal, for those 100 bits. I appreciate your support. I'm going to take that as you're having fun and it doesn't matter, you know? So we've got some ads going right now, and that means I've got a little bit of time to kind of collect myself, cool off a little bit. You're doing great, killing it. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I do my best, but some days I feel like my brain isn't functioning quite as fast as it does someday, or as it normally does. And then I just feel like I'm struggling a little bit. At least you have things to talk about ahead of time. I'll have to keep that in mind if I decide to stream. Yeah, Yeah, that's something that I learned from a VTuber that I watch very frequently. I watch Giga. She has an average of about 2,000 to 3,000 viewers every time she streams. And she got that high in numbers because she talks to her audience and responds. And she always has topics, and they're very intelligent topics. So she's very articulate, very good at talking. So I try to use her methods, and I try to have like some bullet points of things that I want to talk about with you guys, so that I'm not just like sitting here floundering, not knowing what to talk about. I think that makes the stream a little bit more smooth and a little bit more interesting, because we don't. I mean, not or you guys don't always give me comments to respond to, and because I'm always really good at answering questions and bouncing off of you guys, but there are times when it gets quiet because we're a second monitor stream. You guys are at work, you guys are in bed sleeping, or trying to sleep, and so you have your reasons. So I try to make things more interesting anyway, even if you guys are a little bit on the busy side. All right, we're gonna do another heat. This time we're going to move those reins in. We've got plenty of heat there. Let's see if I can make this happen. I'm gonna grab some gloves and make sure that they're nice and ready to go. And I want to move these this way so I can grab a hold of it this direction. And bring that side in. Now we're going to flip them and bring this side in some. Got to keep flipping them to make sure that we have an even bend. And it looks like we're bending more on that side than that side, which means that for our next heat, what I want to do is I want to heat up this leg and not that leg. So what we're going to do is we're going to quench this leg up to about here and heat that leg. So we're going to do that as our next attempt. We're getting there. We're almost there. I appreciate that about you. Even if I'm busy, I enjoy listening. Yeah, like I said, I totally understand that you guys, you have lives, and you don't have the time to just stare at the screen and watch the whole time. So, there are lurkers, there are people that, it's their second monitor. There are people who are actively watching, but I expect that you guys, are doing other things too, playing video games or on the computer, going to sleep. Maybe Amazon shopping, I don't do a lot of stream watching myself. Like, normally if I'm watching a stream, I'm like playing a video game on my main monitor, And I expect, I'm not alone in that. All right, so we've got plenty of heat now. I think I'm going to finish that bend. But we are going to do a quench first. I think, on the one side. I'm going to do my best to quench the one side and not the other. There we go. That's a little bit better. If I can pick this up or hold this, it would be great. There we go. There we go. That's better. That's a lot better. I'm happy with that. Although I'm not happy that it's bending in different spots. Alright, let's fix it. Alright. That's not bad. I'm actually pretty happy with that. I do, however, want to go one more time on that rivet. And then we're going to do our final quench. You caught me on Amazon right now looking for boredom head or hand pieces. Yeah, I mean, you know. Actually, I was just kind of, I was doing some Amazon shopping yesterday. I was taking a look to make sure that the things that I ordered for the van were going to be coming today. And so I did a little bit of shopping while I was doing that. So I was just thinking about my own, my own self. But yeah, I expect people to, do multiple things, multitasking. I love multitasking. Alrighty. Whew. I've left that forge open for far too long. It is super, super hot in this shop right now. Oh. All right. I have this piece of stock that it is now on our anvil, and so I'm gonna kind of try and see if I can't pick it up with the tongs as they are right now. And we'll kind of finesse them and tweak them a little bit to make sure that that's possible. But yeah. Remember when computers couldn't multitask? Well, you're probably too young to remember. Hey, I remember when computers were not household objects. I don't think that my parents got we didn't get our first computer in our house until I would have been in like 5th or 6th grade. I'm a lot older than I look. All right. We're going to do a little bit more here. Another heat. I'm going to put on a glove real fast. Ah! All right, can we do it? Can we pick up this piece of steel with these tongs? Can we open and close them? Not exactly. We're going to have to do a little bit of modification for these. But I think what we're going to do is quench them off so I can tell what kind of mods I need to do. Whoa, what did I just do? That's what I'm trying to do. Alrighty. My quench bucket's a little on the low side right now because I was doing some grinding. Let me go grab the water that I pulled out of it real fast. Peanut butter jar full of water. I think I need need this one too. Goodness gracious, you know, I'm not always the most organized when it comes to this kind of shit. Oh, and there I go again, cursing. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to keep this friendly. There we go. Alright, much more better. Okay. Open and close, open and close. Ah. Alright. Well, we're looking at this, and we're going to try and pick this guy up, and we can pick it up a little bit, but I think really I need to move these guys a little bit. So, one more heat, just one. Rah. I have an idea. So right now we kind of have two little tips there, and there's a little bit of a line, but they're kind of like this. I want to move them like that. So we're going to kind of bend them. I just want the tip of them to move. I don't want a lot of it to move. And if I was a good blacksmith, I would totally use a like an oxyacetylene torch for this, because then I could get a pinpoint precise heat on each of the tips of these. But I don't have an oxyacetylene setup right now, so unfortunately, you know. Can I pick it up like this? I kind of can. So I guess I can do a couple things if I must. I'm kind of trying to make these to the point where I don't have to use these sorts of tongs. I want to use the pickup tongs if I can manage it, but I now know that I can use those if I have to. So at least I'm not completely sunk if I can't make these the way I want them to do. It is super warm today. What time is it? How much time do I have left? Ooh, I have another 40 minutes to start working on this guy. I've taken way too long on these tongs. Alright, let's do this. One more heat. I can't promise that it's only one more heat, but I'm gonna try, you know? We are gonna try. Alright, let's see. Will this work a little bit better now? A little bit. But now they have to go together a little more. There we go. Is this better? Maybe it's better, maybe it's not. look at that. Not too bad. There we go. That should work. We've got a set of tongs. Yay! And they're kind of ugly, but I feel like all my tongs are a little bit ugly. Alright, so now I have a set of tongs. Not too bad. Open, close, open, close. Alright. They're a little on the hot side. Still. You know what? They aren't working as well as I want them to, but that's alright. We'll make them work the way I want them to eventually. Alright. Hey, look at that. Yes, that's exactly what I want to happen. Okay, so now we're going to put this guy in the forge. Yes. They're gonna function. Clap, yay, look at that. Yes, I'm excited. I have a set of tongs that theoretically will function for what I need them to do. They're really ugly though, you know? Maybe I'll spend a little bit of time finessing them later on off stream so that, you know, when I show them on YouTube, they'll look a little prettier maybe. But we've got a little bit of extra curve on that side and a little bit less curve on that side, even though it's not truly less curve. And then the bottoms here, the curl is a little bit lower than that side. So that's not something that I can't fix tomorrow or like subsequently later. But they should work. They should work relatively well. I do want to take a little bit of material off of this rivet. It's a little bit high, but overall, not too bad. Not too bad. Complete except for prettification. Yes, exactly. Prettification is important though, you know? Gotta have some, gotta have a little bit of form with your function, you know? Gonna emboss a frog on it. A rivet for a rivet. I mean, maybe. Honestly, though, I feel like I should put my touch mark on it, but I don't have a touch mark yet, or like the actual touch mark itself. I have a touch mark, I just can't put it on my steel right now. But yes, a rivet for a rivet. That would be adorable. Frog rivets. Yeah, they're not too bad. They should be relatively strong, too. So they don't like, the other reason, or like the other set of tongs that I have, they started, like these sections, the jaws of them, they actually started bending closer together, and it made holding things a lot harder. How long have we been off? Oh, 15 minutes. Alright, that's not too bad. Okay. So I think the next thing that I'm gonna do while that is heating up is I'm gonna change. Maybe I'm not gonna change them. Maybe what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go like so, and we're gonna see how well this works with these uh, dies, and then if they don't work well, I do have another set of dies that I want to take a look at. It should be all right though. Got to plug in the press. So yeah. Next project. Yay! Alright, now I'm going to move the close-up camera over to the press. That way you guys can kind of see what I'm up to. Manual focus is manual. There we go. Alrighty. The only frog that says ribbit is the Pacific tree frog from California, including Hollywood, as featured in every movie. Is that true? I know that there are a lot of little frogs around the Midwest of the United States, the area where I live, where they make little, like, chirping noises almost. But, I mean, that does sound about like Hollywood. I mean, they have a tendency to, or Hollywood always ends up using Asian elephants when, or like in the 60s, they would use Asian elephants and then paste ears on the elephants to make them look like African elephants, because African elephants are a lot harder to work with than Asian elephants, because the African elephants are a lot more aggressive. Every frog has a different call. That makes sense. Next project is the dragon for sponsoring the propane tank. I forgot how we got there from propane tanks, but I remember the dragon. I also kind of don't remember where we got dragon from the propane tanks. Maybe it was because, I'll bet you it's because the mailbox, which is the smaller forge, it burns hotter, and so there's a lot more scale on it, or on the pieces when they come off, and that looked like scale from a dragon, and I think that's kind of where the dragon thing came from, if I remember correctly. But I mean, I might be mistaken, you know? I'll go with that. That's nice. Wow, I guess I haven't been drinking as much water today. This is only my second one, I think. I need to go refill this guy so that I can drink my third water before the end of the stream. That last bit, I don't know if there's like a little bit of rust at the bottom of this cup or what. It just seemed a little bit rusty, maybe. I don't know. I washed it in the dishwasher, and this is like the fourth time I've done it, so it's not like it isn't dishwasher safe, but like, I don't know. I did kind of also have to re-wash it because I washed it with some like pans from spaghetti, and a little bit of sauce got in the bottom of it, so I had to re-wash it. So maybe I didn't do a good job rinsing it. Scaly thing that makes fire. Yes, I am a scaly thing, or I guess I make fire, and the metal is a scaly thing. So I'm going to pull the material out of the forge, and we're going to take a look at it, see how much heat that I'm getting. If I can get it out of here. I know for a fact that we do not have enough heat yet, but we are going to take a look at it and see how much heat we've got. I mean, that's not too bad. And these tongs are holding the stock very beautifully. I'm very happy with how these tongs are holding. So this is going to, you know, I'm pretty happy with that. All right, so we need a little bit more time. I'm going to flip this over like so, and we're going to put it back in the forge. Back in the forge. So the other day, Sandwich was in chat asking why there was flame shooting up the top, or like off the top of the forge. And I realized yesterday that the reason that there was flame shooting up the brick is because the brick was actually not touching the opening of the forge. So there was a gap between the opening of the forge and the brick, and so the flames was shooting up in that gap. So it was kind of funny when I turned it on yesterday. I'm like, oh, I guess I need to shove things back. So I kind of use the bricks to control where the heat is escaping and make sure that I, you know, keep the heat where it needs to be inside the forge. And sometimes, you know, it gets a little bit weird when I have larger pieces of stock and the tongs want to bring the bricks with the steel. So on Friday, we are going to start hardcore working on this piece of steel. We are going to be trying to flatten it out and process this stock so that we can wrap the steel around and create an axe. So I promised you guys back when I first started streaming that we were going to do an axe head this summer, and I intend to keep that promise. So this is that project. We are going to flatten and flay out this piece of steel, then we are going to fold it over and forge weld it. We are going to be using the coal forge for that forge welding process because I want to make sure that I get it good and welded. And I don't know how, I'm not very good at forge welding outside of a coal forge. So that's going to happen sometime next week. It's going to take me a couple streams to process that steel into a flat bar. Because we have a round bar. And the reason we have a round bar is because that is the only stock that they had in stock. So I have to process the steel before we can start making that axe in earnest. So we are currently on ad time, but it looks like that stock is almost ready to go under the press. So once we are done with once we're done with this ad, I'm gonna pull the steel out and we're gonna start working with the press. That's good. And that's good. So this is kind of going to be a little bit on the similar side to when we were working with the Atlantic 33 before I started turning it into the drift that we made with it. We were kind of playing around with the stock, getting used to the feel of it. And that's kind of part of the reason that we're going to be doing this processing of the stock. I want to make sure that I'm well aware of how it moves. That way, when we get to the point where we are forge welding it, I know exactly how hot it needs to be and how it's gonna react. All right, so we are off of ad time. So let's see how this works. We're gonna do a little bit of playing. Playing. All right. So it's actually doing a lot more than it was with the Atlantic 33 as far as upsetting this piece of stock. So that's not actually bad. We are going to pay specific attention to make sure that we don't accidentally bend it and curve it. So back in the forge we go. We can retcon that as the reason. All right. So I'm going to move this guy down a little bit so that we don't have to go as far down to start crushing the stalk. So I'm going to stop it right there. But yeah, not bad. It seems to be crushing pretty darn well. So we're going to work with this a little bit. There is a little bit of a diagonal on the end of it, and I want to kind of straighten that out, flatten it out a little bit. And then we're going to move it up and squish it on that horizontal. Start turning it into a long rectangle. I am super excited about this project. I have, like, an axe head has been on my bucket list for many, many years. And I think that it's going to be a really fun project. Something that a lot of people will be interested in and, you know, exciting overall. Now, I do have to kind of figure out if I want to, because this is a folded axe, so basically what you do is you take a long rectangular skinny piece of stock, you fold it around a axe, like a, I guess like a handle, and kind of forge weld the two ends together. Normally what you do is you put a bit inside of that, so it kind of sandwiches a piece of high carbon steel. So I have to decide whether, because I'm making this out of high carbon steel itself, I have to decide whether I want to put a bit in it of other types of high carbon steel, or even itself, or if I just want to forge weld it together. So I kind of have to noodle around with that. So I'll probably do that this weekend. And we'll decide. You know, I have a couple other pieces of high carbon steel that I could turn into a bit for this axe. But, you know, we will see. We will see. This is something a lot of people have asked for, yes. 15 and 20 would give some nice contrast. It definitely would. I don't actually have any 15 and 20 right now. I do actually have straight nickel, but, or I guess I don't have straight nickel. I have nickel silver. There is a difference. Nickel silver is not nickel. But I think I have a little bit of, I think it's 1095. I have to take a look at my stock and see, because I'm not positive on what I've got. I don't know. So there's a Subaru out on the road, and it's kind of just sitting there, and my partner drives a Subaru, so I doubt it's him, but you never know. He's not turning in, so I don't know. It's probably not then. Maybe a nickel sheet in between the bits for a Sam My technique or a Go My technique. That might be fun. I don't know. Like I said, I think my nickel is nickel silver and not straight nickel. So that's different, and that would act a lot different or more different. I don't think that because the silver reduces the melting point so much that I'm not entirely sure it would affix properly. It might just crack out. We shall see. All right. I am going to do another heat now. A little bit of curving, but we will definitely take care of that when we start flattening it out. I think that's probably what we're going to do next, is we're going to start flattening out this piece. As I trip. Nickel silver doesn't contain silver. I think it's just brassish alloy with nickel. I could be wrong, but I'm positive there's no silver. So I know for a fact the alloy that I have does have silver in it, because I specifically bought a nickel silver alloy that had silver in it. so that I could work with it in a specific way. So nickel silver with silver in it. Actually, if you can create a crust on it of scale, and if you build up enough scale, you can melt the interior nickel and silver, and it will like create little explosions, like tiny little ones, and it will just like create holes. So the technique is called perforation. So you have to have some silver in the nickel silver in order to do that technique. And I bought that nickel silver specifically for perforation. So while not every alloy of nickel silver has silver in it, or maybe that's the case, this does. Alrighty. I am going to lower this guy quite a bit because I think that if I bring this up to the next size up here, I'm thinking that they'll be a little bit too close together, but I'm not positive. We'll take a look. Yeah, they're too close together. Oh, come on. There we go. So I need to bring this guy down so it's less time taking to get down. It takes less time. Alright. I was remembering a nickel silver material that NASCO sold in their catalog years back. They also had an alloy called NU Gold, nickel gold, for jewelry projects with a brass alloy. That makes sense. And a brass would definitely give that yellow gold color. A lot cheaper than actually putting gold in the nickel. We're going to see how well this works. I might not get as much work as I want done on this particular heat because I'm kind of trying to figure out how low I need to bring that top die before I make contact with my steel. So yeah, I'm going to do a few more heats and then we'll probably raid off and I will start hardcore doing a lot of processing of this the steel on Friday. But I want to do a couple more heats just to like get things dialed in. Make sure that I know how far down I need the press to be and I know how it's going to work for me. So I've got my trusty chalk so that I can draw a new line. So when I went to school, I went to school to be for both sculpture as well as silversmithing. And there were a lot of people who would like to, or would use the nickel silver alloy that I bought, so that they can get that silver color without the expense, because nickel silver is a lot cheaper than sterling silver. It is a lot harder to work though, because nickel makes the material really hard. So it took a lot more effort to do the things that they wanted to do, which was usually vessel raising. I've got a few sheets left. I also have a whole bunch of brass and some copper left that I really want to do some stuff with, probably late fall, because I'm still going to be wrapping up the tools to make tools this summer in the early fall. So we will be making 2 axes. This is the first. The second axe will be done after I do another drift and another punch for an axe eye. And so after all those 3 projects, or I guess 4 projects, because we're currently working on the new project, then I might start doing a little bit more vessel raising and things like that, because I can actually heat the little shop, the cold shop, a little bit easier than I can the bigger shop. So we shall see what we do this winter. We might be doing a little bit of vessel raising. It should be a fun project. I would also like to make a new steak for that. Not like a meat steak, you know. When I say steak, you probably are thinking meat steaks, but I mean like a steak. Ever try Mocha Megane with those metals? I did. I made a set of wedding bands in Mocha Megane. It was sterling silver and brass Mocha Megane, because I'm too poor to do gold and white gold. But I did make a sterling silver and red brass Mocha Megane wedding band. And it was a lot of fun. I did a twist pattern on that. So I basically did a layer. It was sterling silver, red brass, sterling silver, red brass for like several layers, and then I forged it out in, not this forge, probably 2 prior to that, in one of my forges, my old forge, and then I forged it out, twisted it up, and we made 2 bands. It was really awesome. They're beautiful. I believe I have a picture of them on my Facebook. A vampire hunting steak, yeah. Yeah, like I said, I think that there is a picture of it on my Facebook page. If not, I can try and remember to put a picture of it on the Discord. All right. Well, I am going to do another heat on this piece, though. Let's see. Let's see what we can do. Will it even go all the way down? I don't even know. We shall see. So we're going to heat this back up and we're going to keep on keeping on. I'm actually pretty happy with that. So we're going to mark this area here so that we know exactly how low we need to go. It's kind of like the limbo, right? How low can you go? Should be pretty good. I'm really excited. This project is working exactly the way I thought it would. Making the hammer, I think that actually did some really, we learned a lot from the hammer, and I'm really happy that we did it because now we can put all of that knowledge that we learned from the hammer into this axe. It's exciting, super exciting. Good evening. Just dropping by. How low can you go is always the question regarding bad puns. Exactly. Hey, Sandwich. Welcome to the stream for however short you're here. I'm glad to see you. We probably only have a few more heats left in me anyway because I'm still a little bit tired from Monday. And I do want to go in the house and kind of relax a bit because I still have a few things that I need to do tomorrow. But yeah, we are currently starting our brand new project, which is the axe. We just finished our tongs. They're kind of ugly, but they work really well. I'm pretty happy with how they function. I wish they were a little bit prettier, but I think I might spend a little bit of time tomorrow, maybe finessing them to make them look a little prettier. We shall see. I want to look at this area right here because this bend is kind of off from this one. And then this is a little more rounded and this is a little less rounded. So maybe I can get those all nice and fixed up. That's the goal anyway. But they are working beautifully for picking up this piece of steel. Exciting, exciting. So like I said, I'm probably only going to do a couple more heats. I think I'm going to limit that to 2 more heats just so that we can kind of pick this up on Friday and I'll be nice and refreshed, ready to go. So, if there is anyone that you would like to raid, that you guys would like to see, let me know. I always take suggestions. Otherwise, we'll see if we have any friends on, or if none of our friends are on, we will make some new friends. I am always game to make some new friends. So we are going to do our first of 2 heats. Another heat, another heat. Let's do this. Or I could drop it. Dropping steel is not the way to do this, guys. Not the way. You know, the Mandalorian, this is the way. This is not the way. Dang. Definitely not the way. a lot better than some of the other tongs that I have for this purpose, but still, I gotta get used to them, I think. There we go. Goodness gracious, one of these days. Alrighty. We're gonna do one more heat. Although it looks like there's an ad showing, or that's going to pop up here shortly, I apologize for that. I hate it when I have to make you guys watch an ad. Right before the end of the stream. What did I do? I hit the wrong button again. Goodness. I was kind of seeing if my capture card was warm because I still have the fan on it. And it wasn't warm. The cameras are pretty warm though. So I was just making sure that the capture card wasn't too hot. It seems like it's alright. Ad time. So on Friday, like I said, we should be working hard on this new piece of stock, pressing it into a nice rectangular shape. And then from there, we're going to turn into an axe. I should, in theory, have our brand new hammer all put together. At least I hope. I can't guarantee that, but I hope I'll have our brand new hammer, the one that I made, all finished up. I'm almost done with it. I'm really looking forward to trying it out. Super excited. These next few weeks are bound to be super exciting. For me, anyway. I hope they're exciting for you guys, too. Goodness gracious. Alrighty. One more heat, guys, and then we're going to raid off. Not bad. We've got a nice flat line there. So we've got a nice flat line, so we're starting to get that rectangular shape that we want. That's really exciting. Alrighty, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. We will continue working on that on Friday, and I hope to see you guys then. So, have a great rest of your day, and I will see you later. You too, Corwin.